Mindfulness in the workplace. A quote from Steve Jobs. If you just sit and observe, you'll see how restless your mind is. If you try to calm it, it only makes it worse. But over time, it does calm. And when it does, there's room to hear more subtle things. That's when your intuition starts to blossom and you start to see things more clearly and be in the present moment. Your mind just slows down and you see a tremendous expanse in the moment. You see so much more than you could see before. It's a discipline. You have to practice it. Meditation. Let's show Steve that we can quiet our mind with a nice counting of our breath. Let's count to 10, with number 1 being our first in-breath, and number 2 is our first out-breath, and so on. If you get lost in thought, just return to the number you last remembered you were on, and then continue on to number 10. So let's begin. How do you feel? Creativity and its value in the business world. To emphasize the importance of meditation in nurturing creativity and wisdom, in 2010, IBM did a global CEO survey, requesting what the most crucial factor for the future success of their company is. 1,500 CEOs from 60 different countries and 33 different industries placed creativity above rigor, management discipline, integrity, or even vision. Quote, successfully navigating an increasing complex world will require creativity, end quote. The need for creativity and wisdom is not only for the executive team, but for every employee in the company. It is important to know that creativity cannot function when stress levels are too high. To protect employees' stress levels, in order to allow a high degree of creativity to flourish, it is necessary to foster resilience and collaboration throughout the company. The only way to approach this effectively is to view it holistically. Each of these components cannot be dealt with selectively. The corporate environment is an ecosystem and needs to be approached as an integrated system. The only way to effectively deal with fostering creativity is through meditation. Meditation will foster creativity, collaboration, resilience, compassion, love, focus, engagement, equanimity, physical health, and of course, emotional intelligence. The value of emotional intelligence in the workplace. Since Dan Goldman's New York Times best-selling book on emotional intelligence, EQ, the business world has awakened to the value of EQ as potentially superior to IQ. Studies have shown that EQ can be more relevant to success than cognitive IQ. EQ may be twice as important to create stellar performance as pure intellect or even expertise. The value that increased EQ contributes to the improvement in the workplace experience cannot be overstated. In a 2011 Career Builder survey of more than 2,600 hiring managers and human resource professionals, 71% stated that they valued EQ in an employee over IQ, and 59% claim they would pass up a candidate with a high IQ but low EQ. Businesses adopt meditation as a benefit. Corporate meditation programs are becoming quite widespread throughout the United States. The best indicator on the subject is the 2017 survey by Fidelity Investments and the National Business Group on Health, which predicted that 44% of large corporations would be offering meditation as an employee benefit by the end of that year. If that trend continued, over 50% of the largest companies would now be offering meditation to their employees. I am amazed by that prediction. It's an encouraging sign that employers are very much interested in meditation as a way to care for the mental well-being of their employees and as a resource for improving the work environment. Our changing culture. Based upon the CDC survey, in the United States, there are currently over 30 million people practicing yoga, and 30 million are meditating. Rapidly, these practices are becoming an integral part of the U.S. culture. Mark Bertolini's fascinating story. To fully capture the potential of the mindfulness in business revolution, it is appropriate to tell the story of the ex-CEO and chairman of Aetna Insurance, Mark Bertolini. In 2004, Mark was involved in a brutal skiing accident. He skied right off the slopes into a tree before plunging 60 feet into a ravine. He landed on his back in a pool of icy water where he became unconscious. It took 2 hours for the rescue crew to find him and get him to the hospital. They thought he would become a quadriplegic. After being in a coma for a week, his doctors told him that he was very lucky that he had fallen into the pool of water. The cooling of his battered spine kept the inflammatory process to a minimum, where ordinarily his spinal cord would have been torn apart. Even though he broke his neck in 5 spots, miraculously he was able to walk out of the hospital within 2 weeks under his own power. However, as Mark so delicately put it, the accident ripped my nerve roots out of my spinal cord to my right arm. The ripped nerves hurt his right arm so much that he was left with this incredible neuropathic pain. It felt like a blowtorch was focused on my whole right arm all day long. Mark was discharged and sent home with pain medications, 7 types, including fentanyl, Vicodin, and oxycodone, which he had been prescribed to take daily. The pills did next to nothing for his pain, except to make him more aware of it. From his perspective, his quality of life had been destroyed. His physicians tried every pain management approach possible to no avail. Then one day, a friend suggested he try yoga and meditation. After only a few weeks, it worked. He was still able to feel the pain, but he was able to isolate it and start enjoying life again. What adds to this amazing story is that 3 years later, he became president and CEO of Aetna, which had 50,000 employees at the time. When Mark became CEO, he told his chief medical officer that he wanted everyone to do meditation and yoga. But his CMO told him, "Mark, you cannot dictate to every employee that they have to do this, although we can do it on a volunteer basis." Over the next 24 months, 12,500 employees, or 25% of the company, were doing meditation and yoga on a regular basis. The effect on the whole company was profound. People were reporting amazingly positive things that were happening in their personal lives and for the corporate culture as a whole. Mark then contacted a research group at Duke University to study the effects of their program. After the study was concluded, the results showed that for each employee, there was a $3,000 benefit from increased productivity and $2,000 from reduced medical claims from their high-risk group of employees, making a total of $5,000 of benefits per year from their high-risk group. To get an overall reading on stress, they measured everyone's associated cortisol levels. These indicated a marked reduction of stress. Employee stress levels had been reduced. Aetna's stock also rose 500% from the time the company started their yoga and meditation program until the time the company was sold to CVS in 2018 for $70 billion. One of the key takeaways from this story is that a meditation program can be most successful if the president and/or CEO buys into the program and sets the example for the rest of the company. Then its full impact can be felt. Mark wrote, "The greatest rewards have been in what we actually accomplished, defying norms to create a better workplace, designing a new approach for engagement with the community, and reimagining our mission to build a healthier world." JTE, Corporate and Personal Self-Development Version. The JTE has a corporate version as well as a personal self-development one. In the meditation series for corporations, employees are guided to bring up specific people-related issues to work on. They get the opportunity in their mind's eye to focus on their manager, buddies, team, and the company as a whole. This is done during the Loving Kindness series and the Compassion series. The reason the JTE corporate version allocates a meaningful amount of time for the employee-manager relationship is because this interaction is the most fragile and potentially the most disruptive. More employees quit their jobs over their negative relationship with their manager than any other factor. Value of having a personal self-development version. Quite often, employees who are doing the JTE ask if their family members could download the app. If their family members do not work or do not work in a corporate environment, it is a nice option that their family members can use the personal self-development version. It is a nice reinforcement for employees to have family members doing the JTE as well. I have found that after an employee finishes the corporate version, they start the personal self-development one. Even though we spend most of our waking hours in the workplace, it is recommended that we cultivate our personal self-development by approaching improving our lives holistically. The two versions together amount to 150 hours of guided meditations. In summary, meditation increases our EQ and helps us produce increased level of creativity, stellar performance, enlightened leadership, and happiness in the workplace. I refer to this as rising to a genius levels of performance. Such benefits can be gained simply through employees maintaining a steady practice. Hapco's corporate program. Hapco offers a full-service program for corporations to launch and maintain a meditation program. The program includes initial presentation to establish program and teaching, launch and enrollment resources, full reporting on each department and division, weekly evening Zoom calls to answer questions, assessment surveys, coaches track and support each individual employee, and dedicated coaches for each company.